Hello, everyone. Today we're looking at the November 2021 astrological chart for all the signs. I'm Michelle with Old World Mystics, and I'm a tarot and astrology enthusiast. So, in November, of course, we are going to be looking at a lot of Scorpio energy with Sun, Mars, and Mercury going through Scorpio in the month of November. And what this is going to mean for some of us is the potential for hidden truths. I'm going to say, actually, even all of us, because broadly speaking, that is what the chart is talking about, but also the ability to get to the bottom of things. We'll also be looking at the other planets and how they factor into the overall chart. Now, I've done this by hand, as you can see, and I wanted this big piece of paper because I'd like to take some notes as I'm going along. And if you have your chart available, I'm going to suggest it might be some fun to take some notes as well. And the notes would be regarding where you have the signs located on your natal chart. Okay, so I'll bring that up as we go along, and we can have some fun with this actually by looking at it throughout the month and seeing how these predictions are actually playing out. All right, so let's go ahead and get started just by getting sort of a layout on where these planets are all situated. We've already looked at the Scorpio energy here. We also have the new moon in Scorpio right at the beginning of the month. Okay, so that strong emphasis on Scorpio. And then also, right off the bat, what really stands out is this fixed T square. All right, now the square between Saturn and Jupiter and Uranus has been in effect and will be in effect, but we are really seeing it highlighted with the Sun and Mars in Scorpio because now we have this T square configuration. We're going to get into that. And then the other thing, just to kind of get a grip on what the chart is talking about, is I feel that the nodes are really standing out at this time because the North Node is at 1 degree of Gemini, South Node at 1 degree of Sagittarius. And so soon the nodes will be moving back into Taurus and Scorpio. They move back through the signs. And so, something that we have been experiencing for, say, for the past year and a half, there may be a shift, but we'll go ahead and look at the nodes in these positions. And in fact, let's start out with that. Okay, let's start with the nodes. I'm going to take some notes. All right, so let's begin by looking at the North Node. I'm going to put a note right here. All right, North Node is at, we have 1 degree of Gemini. Now, that's important because it means the node is exalted. All right, so we want to keep that in mind. And alternatively, it means the south node is also exalted. Now, this is going to make for an interesting reading. First of all, let's just pull out some keywords for the sign of Gemini. We have communication, of course, right? We know that. We all know that. Other things, possibly writing and teaching. All right, now, not everybody perhaps has seen an uptick in writing and teaching, but perhaps in communication, the North Node draws things in to life. And because it is exalted, I really feel that this is talking about how people have really stepped it up. Okay, so it's about stepping it up regarding communication. And this is something potentially that you have noticed over the past even year and a half. Now, with the South Node, all right, at that 1 degree of Sagittarius, that's also exalted. Now, this is where things get really tricky for us in terms of an interpretation, because the South Node draws things away, pulls things away. So let's think about the keywords for Sagittarius. We have higher learning. Of course, Sagittarius is always about higher learning. There are, of course, also connections to the ninth house, but I'm thinking about Sagittarius specifically. I'm thinking about higher awareness. Okay, higher awareness. Also, let's put in there long distance travel. Now, the picture will become clear here. Let's include one more, and let's say legal cases. Okay, because Sagittarius is really connected to all of these things. So if we think about it, in the last year and a half, these things have been drawn away. In our colleges, at least in the United States, we're seeing the lowest enrollment in a very, very long time. Even in grade schools, we can see this occurring, where it's just very difficult to access higher learning. Everything is online, learning at any level. Higher awareness, well, that's difficult during this time period too, because it's hard to know what the truth is about all of the circumstances that are going on in the world. There's so many opinions that are conflicting. Long distance travel, well, certainly that was curtailed during the pandemic over the last year and a half. And even legal cases, because, for quite a while at the beginning, the courts were even functioning until they got into Zoom. And so we've all potentially experienced this. Our long distance travel curtailed, perhaps legal delays, difficulties created with education in general. Well, there could be a shift as the nodes change. We'll have to see, but it's certainly interesting to see how closely the nodes are connected to the overall picture. And I feel, again, that some of us have really stepped it up in terms of communicating with people. And with the South Node, I feel it's about seeking truth. Seeking truth. All right. Because again, the more that our knowledge is drawn away from us or obscured, I think the more that we are going to desire the truth and seek it out. And that is a major theme in the chart this month. Let me make one other note, because what's going to happen here is we're going to see this layering occur, and the message will become clear. The note is about a total solar eclipse. And that will be at 12 degrees of Sagittarius. All right, the next new moon. And so the new moon comes around to eclipse the sun in Sagittarius, which is about truth. So we see the truth is being hidden in some way. I feel that in the month of November and December, going into the new year, we may see some cover-ups going on. This could be something that we see more on a national scale, potentially to do with government related activity, that sort of thing. It could be personal though. And also the match to that is digging up the truth. As far as our personal lives are concerned, this would be most impactful if we had a planet or a personal point, such as the midheaven or the ascendant, very close to 12 degrees of Sagittarius. Potentially, we could say 12 degrees of Gemini also, and maybe even the other mutable signs, Pisces and Virgo, okay, close to 12 degrees. So we might experience something along those lines where we are trying to get to the bottom of things. Now, let's take a look. Let's move into this new moon, because the new moon in Scorpio, well, this is a fixed sign, but it's also in fall. All right, so not an ideal position for the moon, which suggests that some of the more challenging manifestations of this energy can come about. That can either be for ourselves in our own personal lives, or it could be people that are around us. All right, so either way, it can feel as though the more difficult manifestations of Scorpio are manifesting around us. So let's take a look at that. Something that we might see is more actually aggressive behaviors, and connected to anger potentially. All right. People could be a lot more impatient going into the next couple of months. That certainly connects with the holiday season. I am going to also include this idea, lack of compassion. That's possible. This is going to tie into the full moon, though, because we have a trajectory here, and so that's why I want to bring this up. It's possible we are going to see some extreme emotions over the next few months. Potentially some disappointments are going to come in as well. Now, I want to say that I feel like if this comes about, that there's going to be justification for it. I'm not saying that there won't be justification, but that it's something that can build up. What we want to look at, though, is just 2 weeks later, we have this full moon here at 27 degrees of Taurus. Now, Taurus is a fixed sign, and it's also known for potential for anger, right? Taurus can be a little bit stubborn as far as a sign goes, so we might call it a stubborn moon. But the thing about the full moon in Taurus is it will be Venus ruled, and we know that Taurus is better at controlling temper. Sometimes it's bottled up, though. There can be more sensitivity and a desire for peace. Now, that's all coming from this Venus influence, right? So, while the full moon will be exalted, all right, let's put that note down as well, okay? Exalted, that's very important, because we have the in fall and then exalted. So this exalted full moon, what we can see is a trajectory where perhaps we or other people around us are moving from feelings of anger or impatience, but they come to a place where they are able to control things better, be more sensitive and tolerant, and want to get back to a place of peace. Now, we're going to get to this Uranus opposition, though, because I mean, there's a potential that some people are going to just want to just kind of feel like they're going to explode with this. So I'm not avoiding that or neglecting it, but I am saying for many of us, we are going to move into this more controlled, I want to say, position or feeling. Okay, so let's move back. Let's move back and look at a little bit more detail with the sun. And I'm going to take some notes here. This is the sun and Scorpio conjunct our Mars in Scorpio. Okay, we're going to take a look at that a little bit more closely. I have to say, I mean, all of the things that I have been talking about so far they're pretty general, right? They're very general. We'll get into a little bit more, but perhaps some more personal things here. And this is maybe where we are going to get into the secrets. All right. Some secrets potentially. Okay, so maybe in the area where Scorpio is in your chart, you might be keeping some information uh, uh, from just spilling out. I think that you potentially have a good reason for it. There could be some deception though. All right. If we do get into this kind of area where we're feeling like, somebody's keeping a secret or someone's deceiving me, the positive uh, element to this is that we can dig deeper for the truth. Now, why am I saying this? Because, we've got this interesting mix. We've got, this moon in fall. So we've got this more negative kind of manifestation or challenging. But we also have Mars in rulership. That's a very strong position. And so as Mars moves through Scorpio, I feel that some of the things that can be going on that aren't as pleasant or challenging or difficult, that we are going to be able to deal with it throughout the month. Some might say in a natal chart, if we were looking at this, that Mars is combust. It's very close to the sun. The sun is kind of the star of the show here. And even throughout the whole month, it's very close to that. I do kind of pick up a little message about that. And it's that I think that the work that we are doing in November, this work to dig down to get to the bottom of things, I feel that it will be potentially in private. Okay, so something that we're doing privately, it could involve research. It might not be the time to like reveal the results of all of the digging. That may come later in the month or actually next year. Something else I want to mention is an excellent month for healing and for healers. All right, so that is in a concrete sense if you're a doctor or a nurse, work in a hospital in some way, or even an esoteric healer. With this Mars in rulership, I feel it's going to be a very strong position for healing, and there's going to be a connection to spirit there. Okay, so that's excellent to see. All right, now we are going to move on to Saturn now. Saturn square the sun and Mars. Now at this time, I'm going to say that it is time to draw some lines. Okay, I have these highlighters out, so I may as well use them. And I think it's going to bring this picture out for us as we are contemplating these aspects and these energies and how they all work together. Okay, so that's the opposition. That's the opposition with Scorpio and Taurus. But then we also have this situation going on. And this is a little bit more long term here with Uranus and Saturn. But it's highlighted because of what's happening in Scorpio. All right, so it's something that could come out a little bit more strongly in the month of November. Okay, we have a few more lines we're going to add to this. Let's go ahead and take some notes about Saturn in Aquarius. All right, so in rulership, squaring Sun and Mars in Scorpio. Okay, now I hope you're enjoying my taking notes. I'm thinking about these things as we go along. And so I'm hoping that by taking some notes, that it gives you an opportunity to contemplate these things too. Like, what might this mean before even going to your own chart? What might these particular positions mean? Now, when I think about Saturn in Aquarius, what comes to mind, this is almost on an intuitive level, but I'm thinking about focus, all right, and concentration. I think that those two things are going to be boosted in the month of November, and it, perhaps beyond as well. I'm seeing the scientific mind. All right, a very scientific approach to things. We again desire for the whole truth. Also, with Saturn, there is the ability to see forms and structure. So things that weren't clear before may become clear. We may see the form of things. I think that some people are going to be very ambitious, and I'm seeing this very positively. Very positively. Now, again, it's a tricky read because we know there's a challenge here. It's a square. But we also know that these planets are in strong positions because they are in rulership. So overall, it suggests an opportunity to me. There's an opportunity. What the chart is telling me is that if things get a little bit too emotional for us and it becomes difficult to move forward, like we are really stuck with it, in it, then I feel that this aspect is saying to try to take the emotions out of it. I'm going to write that down actually. I think it's a key piece of advice coming out of the chart. Take emotions out of the equation. Now we're going to look at some things in this chart that will help us to do that. The chart isn't just saying, okay, take the emotions out of it and not giving us a clue about what we might do. And let's add in again to emphasize this, approach things scientifically. That scientific mind. Now, for some of you, you're going to be able to look at your natal chart and really pinpoint this to the area of the chart where you have Scorpio and Aquarius. You might be looking, or you can look at that and say, you know what? I have been much more focused in that area where Aquarius is. I've been a lot more serious where Aquarius is in my chart. I'm starting to see how things might work. I'm seeing forms, I'm seeing structures, I'm putting structure to things. You might feel very ambitious in that area. And then in Scorpio, it's, it's potentially something gets triggered, right? Especially because both the Sun and Mars are faster moving planets than Saturn. So something can get triggered. The suggestion again, take emotions out, approach it scientifically. I want to talk a little bit more about this opposition and some of the other aspects that are going on. I do feel like with this opposition and Uranus involved, I feel like emotions can be like under wraps, very deep, like running very deep, below the surface, and then they can start to feel like they are going to burst out, though. There's a possibility something will get triggered, as I mentioned, and it feels like I have to take some explosive type of action or potentially communicate something in some kind of a very robust manner. I'm going to put it that way, but there's a sense kind of explosiveness with this. Uh, I'm going to revisit this again as I move through the analysis because it's going to lead us up to something important about Saturn and Uranus. So the idea here, right, to move through emotions to a more objective, impersonal place, analyze things, and now we bring in the Uranus energy, which is all about experimentation. Let's take a couple of notes on that, all right, because I really think that's important. Let's do Saturn and Aquarius down here and squaring Uranus and Taurus, okay? So we have rulership. Let's not forget that. Some astrologers would say that Uranus is in fall. Modern astrologers, the traditional ones, don't particularly look at that. I feel that what this is saying now, now there's going to be alternative readings, okay? So I'm going to explain that. It's going to sound like it's going to conflict, but it actually doesn't. The planets represent many different things in our lives, not just one thing. So, on the one hand, we can start to see form and structure and be ambitious about things. But the message coming through here is where things feel stale or stagnant or boxed in, it's time to break out of the box. Okay, so we're getting that breaking out kind of energy coming in. This is saying to experiment. Experiment with Uranus. This is longer term than just the month of November. Break out of the box. All right, try things. See what works for you. Have an open mind to trying different things. All right, so that can work along with these other positive manifestations that I mentioned about Saturn. So again, tricky part of the read, we can be boxed in some way where Aquarius is, let's say, or feel restrictions, but at the same time, we can use our objectivity and experiment in order to break out of that box. This really has me thinking about Edison, especially with the electricity, and thinking about how many times did it take to get that light bulb right? How many experiments? Like thousands, I think it was. So many experiments. And so that I think can be a real help for us at this time. All right, now we're going to take a look at a couple of trines. Now, I mentioned that the chart isn't just saying, hey, take emotions out of it. It's also giving us a clue about where we might find some assistance. When we're looking for trines, we are looking for the same element. Okay, and so here we have one. Right here we have one right here. Now we're going to have another trine as well, and it's going to be right here. I'm going to make it, about like this. Okay, so let's talk about those trines. And I'm going to take a few notes. Let's start out with, we have the sun And Mars, of course, in Scorpio, trining Neptune in Pisces. All right, and that's right here. Okay, so here's that trine. I really feel this is talking about finding peace within. So, this is the assistance for this situation of taking emotions out of it. It's finding a place of calm, bringing back calm into life. The chart is saying where that energy is going to flow is in this area that talks about spirituality, meditation, possibly. For some of us, it might involve actually getting near a body of water. Okay, so for many of us, we might feel that way. Even taking a slow drink of water, just the concept of it, you know? So this is telling us that during the month of November, it's actually potentially it's going to be easy for some of us despite these challenges. We might find that when we go into a meditation, like wow, just bam, we are there, you know. Grounding out is also important, but getting into that space where you just have a spiritual peace. This is also talking about creative flow. So, again, getting back to that area of life where potentially things are blocked in and we need to experiment. If we're feeling like, you know, like sort of like a writer's block kind of feeling, or we don't know what to do next, to try some type of spiritual practice because potentially that's going to make things start to flow again. With the T square, okay, let's take a look at the T square again in the fixed signs. I feel like the challenge here is to take the high road. And we can see that developing throughout the chart. You know, it keeps pointing us to this place of calm, objectivity, critical thinking, meditation. So let's put that in actually right here. Take the high road. Boy, that's a real Scorpio concept. And so, you know, we might be thinking, well, but Scorpio's always in the chart, right? So shouldn't we always be taking the high road? Well, yeah, you know, we should always be taking the high road. But it's highlighted this month. With the Sun and Mars here, it's highlighted. The challenge is highlighted with the T square. The challenge to be tolerant of people, to be patient, to seek the truth in a scientific, methodical, or objective way. These are all challenges and ways that we can take the high road. Now, some people are going to be thinking about Leo. I know this because it looks like a release point. I'm not sure that all astrologers agree with that, but you might be looking at that like, well, what? Or, for example, what if I have something in Leo? Because now I've got almost like this kind of grand cross looking situation going. I do think we can pull a message from that intuitively, and it has to do with taking control. All right, so stepping back and taking control of things. Now, we're actually going to finish up this interpretation right here with Venus moving into Capricorn, into Earth, because here we have our second piece of advice. Venus, all about relationships, of course, in Earth will be trining Uranus at 12 degrees on the 20th. Okay, so that will be exact on the 20th. But even as it gets near that area, it doesn't have to be exactly on the 20th. There's still a message from the overall chart. What this is telling me is that when, I said when, but if we do find we are carried away with our emotions, or even other people are, the chart is suggesting to be around people who help you to feel grounded. Seek out those people who are scientifically minded, intelligent, ambitious, positive, all of those things that are going to help you to feel better about the current situation. I am picking up a message about slippery slopes from this chart, okay? That is coming up. Slippery slopes. This is the type of thinking where, like, one thing is going to happen and then suddenly everything is going to go wrong. It will all just go tumbling down. All right, that's not critical thinking, okay? But this is the kind of thing that can happen when our emotions sort of get the better of us. And so, again, the chart is saying to get grounded, go back to the scientific sort of approach, be with people that are more calm about things, go into the spiritual practices to find your own center. And I think everything is actually going to work out beautifully for the end of the year. All right, that's your message for November 2021 for all the signs. Thank you so much for being here. It truly is a pleasure and a privilege for me to interpret the astrology for you and with you. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. That means so very much to me. And I'll see you next time.